48900A1, 48900K, 48900.7, and in addition, 48915G1 states due to the nature of the violation, other means of correction are not feasible and have repeatedly failed to bring about proper conduct, to expel student and suspend the expulsion order with conditions.
I move.
Second.
Motion by Hepburn, seconded by Ms. Lett. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For one. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And can we have our cadet lead our song? Please.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nothing like getting put on the spot, huh?
No, I already did that a while ago.
Okay. Roll call. I am here. Robert Vincent is here. Sandy Hepburn is here. Adrian Rendon is here. Justin Wright is here. And Ms. Finch is absent. They're playing soccer today? Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Vincent, seconded by Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, can we jump ahead and do the, which number is it?
Item A.
Item A. Let's jump ahead to item A and we'll be back to the other so we can have our people that are in the Zoom. Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
So it's Christy, Margaret Leone, and Justin.
Yes. Christy, are you going to introduce, or Marguerite, should I allow you just to go ahead and start us off this evening?
I think you'll go ahead and just start us off, Marguerite.
Okay, yeah, I'm happy to do that. Good evening to members of the Board of Trustees and to the Superintendent. We're here tonight for the second public hearing on the district's project of establishing trustee areas for the election of the trustees sitting on the school board, commencing with the November 2026 elections. The code requires us to have 2 public hearings prior to the drawing of any lines. The purpose of the public hearings are to inform the public about the process and allow the public to bring input on what on considerations for the eventual drawing of lines. Because this is the second of 2 initial public hearings, what the board will hear tonight is somewhat repetitive. However, it's for the benefit of the public, and all public comment is welcome, even from those who may have attended the first meeting. Tonight, we have with us from National Demographics Corporation, its Vice President, Justin Levitt, whom I have known for many, many years, is an excellent demographer, sensitive listener, and a good line drawer. And he is going to present information for this evening's second public hearing. With that, I will turn it over to Dr. Levitt.
Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, President and members of the board. It is a pleasure to be here today to present on the districting process. Now, I'm going to go through a very similar presentation to last time. For anybody who wasn't here last time, this might be your first introduction. And so to really start at the beginning, what the board is looking at doing is switching its method of election from an at-large system in which all voters in the district elect all members to the board to a by-district or by-trustee area system where only the residents of a particular trustee area elect a representative to the board, and the representative must live within the trustee area. If this sounds a bit familiar, it's the same system we use to elect members to Congress, the state legislature, the county board of supervisors, and a lot of other local governments. The reason the district is doing this is because of a 2001 law, the California Voting Rights Act. The California Voting Rights Act was really written to make it easier to really force jurisdictions into changing the method of election from at-large to by-trustee area elections. In particular, it makes it easier to simply, for a potential plaintiff to simply say that there is racially polarized voting in a jurisdiction, and the remedy prescribed in the California Voting Rights Act is to transition to a by-district or by-trustee area system. Because of this, what we've seen is that throughout the state, over 340 school districts have made this transition already, in addition to over 200 cities. And we're coming up on over 100 special districts, including water, healthcare, sanitation, and all sorts of other districts besides that. The legal history of the CVRA, so far, no plaintiff has fully won at any trial. The two jurisdictions that have really gone through the full trial process, Palmdale and Santa Clara, both lost. Santa Monica went all the way up to the city of Santa Monica went all the way up to the state Supreme Court. That is now back down for more hearings at the local level. We are also have two other cities, Burbank and Huntington Beach, that are also in litigation on the California Voting Rights Act. And one of the reasons why maybe only a few cities have even challenged the CVRA is because of how expensive it has been to challenge the law. As you see in the right-hand column, some of the settlements are well over $1 million. And some of the smaller settlements, I say, are some of the older ones, over a decade ago, Madera Unified, Compton Unified, Hanford Joint Union, whereas some of the more recent cases are well into 7 figures or more in terms of what plaintiffs have demanded cities and other local jurisdictions pay. Because of this and the threat of litigation, the California Voting Rights Act, the legislature actually has capped the amount that a jurisdiction is eligible for if they make the transition kind of in response to the demand letter, and it's capped around 40,000, much less than most of the settlements that have happened so far. In addition to that, the state has also laid out a process for making this transition, and really they've laid out this 90-day window to make a transition from at-large to by-trustee area elections. This is the principal reason we move so quickly through this process, particularly for the districting process. It requires 2 initial hearings, the first of which the president of NDC, Doug Johnson, was at. This is the second of the 2. And in these 2, we talk about the demographics, we talk about the criteria, and we hopefully answer all your questions about the process of transitioning to trustee areas. Following this hearing, we'll release the draft maps. And with those draft maps, we will have our first discussion of those at least a week after. The law actually requires a minimum of 7 days between the release of the draft maps and the discussion on them. And it also requires that we have 2 hearings on the draft maps. So we'll come out with our first round of maps, and then we'll have at least 2 opportunities to discuss, potentially revise any of the draft maps as needed. Following that, the board will select their final map, and it'll be sent to the County Committee on School District Organization. The County Committee on School District Organization is the organization that handles any sort of change in the election system or boundaries of a school district. And they're required to hold a minimum of one public hearing on the proposal transition, and they have the final approval on the draft map before the lines would be implemented for the 2026 election. From there, we think of it as a rollout. The first trustee areas will hold their elections in 2026, the remaining trustee areas in 2028, and over the course of those two election cycles, the district will fully transition to the bi-trustee area system. Then in 2030, we'll be taking our new census, and in 2031, we'll have an opportunity to revisit the boundaries of the trustee areas as part of the redistricting that takes place in the year ending in 1. So that's a little bit of a time frame. Whatever lines we adopt here tonight or in this process will only be used for the 26, 28, and 2030 elections, because we'll have an opportunity in 2031 to redraw those boundaries. I should note, as we talk about to go into the criteria, that this process of transitioning to bi-trustee area elections does not change the board's obligation to all the parents, students, and residents of the district. Their fiduciary responsibilities remain the same. Now, in terms of how we draw the lines, the state actually lays out quite a number of rules and principles that we have to follow in terms of drawing districts or trustee areas. On the left-hand column are our federal laws. These requirements come from the Supreme Court and other federal law. First and foremost is equal population. Trustee areas have to have more or less the same number of total residents. And this really comes from that 2020 population count in the US Census. We are allowed some deviation or difference from perfect equality, and that's to achieve everything else on this list. But we have to get pretty close. The maximum difference between the largest and smallest trustee areas can be no more than 10% of the population of a trustee area. And so as we look at our maps, we'll see that deviation, or we'll call it the total deviation. That's the number that has to stay under 10%. Second is our Federal Voting Rights Act requirement. You know, I know that there's some pending litigation in the Supreme Court, but as of right now, we use our existing case law and state law to determine what this means. Race cannot be the only factor or the predominant factor in the creation of a district or trustee area. It must be one of many factors considered together as part of determining communities of interests and neighborhoods. While we do take into account, and you'll see some maps later on about our protected class communities, what we're really looking for here is to be able to justify that trustee area boundary, not solely on the basis of race, ethnicity, or national origin. And we'll look at that with the maps later on in this presentation. In the middle column are our Fair Maps Act criteria. These are fairly new. They came into being in the beginning of 24, and they prioritize a certain number of, as you can see here, of rank ordered criteria. On this list, first is continuity. That's a fancy way of saying that the district has to have one outside border, that all parts of the district must connect and touch to each other. So we can't put the rural areas on either side of the CDP in one area and not connect them to each other. They have to physically link to each other. Second, avoiding neighborhoods, a division of neighborhoods and communities of interest. I know in our first public hearing, we talked about a number of neighborhoods and communities of interest in the city. The law really focuses on these socioeconomic and geographic areas that should be kept together, as the law says, for the purpose of their effective and fair representation. And so when we have clear-cut neighborhoods or other sorts of communities, often smaller than a trustee area as a whole, we want to avoid drawing trustee areas that would cut those areas into separate divisions. Third is not dividing cities or CDPs. And so to the extent we can minimize the division of our census designated places, the census designated places are really just a census term for areas that aren't officially incorporated. That is, they don't have a city, but they're recognized as being a geographic location by the Census Bureau. Fourth is following easily identifiable boundaries. So to the extent that we can use things like major roads, natural divisions, and other features that people would recognize, we should strive to do that. And then fifth, they prioritize compactness, and defined as not bypassing one group of people to get to a more distant group of people. And that's really aimed at sort of those hooks and fingers, lines that seem to wrap around areas in order to grab a particular house or neighborhood. But keep in mind that these criteria are rank ordered for a reason. If there is a community of interest or neighborhood that really makes sense to residents, then we keep that community together first. And that can really come into play in a lot of rural communities because we use whole census blocks. And sometimes those blocks can be oddly shaped throughout the country, even in urban areas, but especially in many rural areas. Finally, the Fair Maps Act also prohibits the use of partisan data, incumbency, or information about potential political candidates in the process. And to that extent, we don't show that information on the spreadsheets that we use and the demographics that we use, and we don't consider incumbency as part of the factors for drawing maps. And then finally, we have this box, other traditional districting principles. It's important to recognize that courts have said this list isn't necessarily everything that can be taken into consideration. However, we need to take into consideration everything from the federal and state Fair Maps Act requirements first. So think of factors like local considerations as a final test between two equally good maps under the Fair Maps Act. So for example, last night I was in a city where they were looking at two maps that were actually identical except for one zero population block. And that zero population block was where future housing development is going to be built over the next 10 years. And so they've, as that final bit of consideration, they put it to underpopulate a particular district and overpopulate another one, making sure that those residents, future residents, if they come to the city by the time the lines are redrawn, would be in the more underpopulated of the two areas. They could do that because everything else, the two maps were identical. So turning now to the numbers themselves, the census counted 22,101 residents in Southern Kern Unified School District. Of that population, as you can see here, the total population was about 43% Latino, 38% white, and 11% Black. As you can see, the citizen voting age population, or the population over 18 with US citizenship, the courts sometimes use this, they call it the eligible voter count. It's very similar actually to our total population. The Latino percentage drops a touch from 43 to 40. The non-Hispanic white population increases a bit from 38 to 44, but our Black population stays at 11%. And our Asian population also stays at right about 5%. And so what we do, some cities have some very big differences between total and citizen population, but in this case, we're looking at numbers that are relatively similar to each other. This number, 22,101, also gives us our ideal population. Each of the 5 trustee areas must contain about 4,420 residents. That's 2,200, dividing it by 5. Now, in addition to our total population, we do use a lot of other demographic data, including income, education, housing type, and you're going to see some maps in a couple of slides showing some of these measures. What I really want us to think about a lot of this is that these can help us understand where our communities and neighborhoods are. Of course, they're no substitution for your local knowledge of your communities. But they can a lot of times they do map onto where those communities are, the ones people recognize. And so we can use these in every community. Different parts of this chart become important to understand what the differences are between our trustee areas. Each of our maps will contain a spreadsheet that has information not just on race and ethnicity, but on a lot of these other socioeconomic factors to help us better understand the communities and neighborhoods and the way the trustee areas incorporate different communities throughout the district. Looking at the map, we do see some concentrations of our Latino and African American populations. First, looking at our Latino population, the areas that are in the pinks and yellows, kind of the brighter colors, the pink areas are over 75% Latino. The yellow areas are over 65% Latino. Now, just as a note, the census uses geographic blocks. And so many of these blocks are very large, but only have relatively few residents in them. For example, near the top end of the map, you see a very large pink block right along the Mojave Tropico Road. And that block only contains 4 residents, even though it's much larger than many of the blocks to the south of it. And so what we look for is not just where we see those pink and yellow areas, but where we see a concentration of them, where we see a lot of them in the same neighborhood. And what the map really shows is that kind of in the northeastern part of Rosamond itself, particularly north of Rosamond Boulevard and east of the freeway or the fronted, the Sierra Highway, that's where we really see our biggest concentration of Latino residents. In addition, there's a smaller concentration that's toward the west end of the city around 60th Street. We also see that although there are no concentrations, as we can see here, of Asian Americans, we do see that there is a slight concentration of African Americans in the district as well, particularly south of Rosamond Street, east of the freeway. So we saw that Latino concentration north of the freeway, or north of Rosamond Boulevard. We see an African American neighborhood south of Rosamond Boulevard. And that big yellow block, which is about 70% African American, that big yellow block only has 38 people. But the smaller blocks adjacent to it have several hundred each. Now, as I mentioned, we did look at some of our other socioeconomic demographics, and we can see that there are some differences throughout Rosamond. For example, if you look at the percent multifamily housing or the percent renters on the bottom row, we see that there is a section of the city that has a higher number of apartments, multifamily housing, and a higher proportion of renters. We can also see that there are measures where we don't see a lot of difference. Spanish spoken at home, for example, seems to be fairly flat throughout the whole city. There's a little bit of variation, about 25 to 30% in some areas, but not a whole lot of different shades of color here. On the other hand, the percentage of households with a child at home, we see that there are some areas in that bright pink. That means 75% of those households in that area in pink have children at home. And other areas under 25% of households, under 35% of households have children at home. So we do see some differences between neighborhoods in some of these socioeconomic measures. Now, we also are we're looking at the satellite view, and we can see here some of the major facilities, including schools, Rosamond High and Rosamond Elementary, we've highlighted here, along with Tropico and West Park schools. In addition, we also use this top-down view to look at things like where our mobile home communities and other facilities are throughout, particularly when there are questions about the census data, and sometimes there are simply because of the method the census uses. We always look at the satellite to understand where people are living And especially in those very big blocks, if we're trying to figure out which district or trustee area to put that big block in, we want to see where the home is. We want to see where the address is. And that's something that we will be using as we kind of look toward drawing maps. Lastly, we know there were some questions last time about population density, and I just wanted to give you an overview that really highlights. The area in white has 0 population, and the very light color has a very low population density. The areas kind of in the darker blues, the darker shades, have much higher population densities, ranging to 1 block in the very highest group, north of Rosamond Highway at 15th Avenue. What we can really see here are some of the developments, particularly in Rosamond itself, that really highlight as being areas where we see more defined, at least developments that maybe have a single builder or single age or era of development. And we see how that varies across the district. And this really brings us right to the central questions about neighborhoods. To go back to a line I used earlier, those numbers only tell a part of the story. So the more we can understand from you and the community about where your neighborhoods and geographic boundaries are, the better lines we can draw. And so as part of our first 2 hearings, we always ask the questions, where do you consider your communities of interest? Where do you consider your neighborhoods? And examples of this could include things like the area around a park and a school, the areas near other neighborhood landmarks. And as we turn toward communities of interest, areas with shared problems or issues, shared need for a single representative to handle a particular community or area. And that really brings us to that question of where should we put the line to draw that area for the purpose of the most effective and fair representation that we can in the different maps. Now, just to give you a preview, when we come back with our maps next time, we're going to take all the feedback into consideration and come back with more than one map. Because I think one thing that I've learned doing districting for over 2 decades now is that people will disagree on where the communities of interest are. And part of our discussion at the 3rd and 4th public hearings will be which communities really fit this criteria the best, which ones really need to be kept together. And part of that is this community discussion, looking at different ways people draw or conceive of the lines. And just as a reminder, these are about issues, these are about socioeconomic characteristics, not about the politics or relationship with political candidates. And so with that, our topics for our first discussion really focus on understanding our neighborhoods and boundaries. But of course, we're happy to answer any questions about the process and procedure, the criteria, or anything else you want to know about the districting process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I will hear a motion to recess for open.
Oh, motion.
Motion by Antoinette, seconded by Bridget. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Time is 7:43.
Yep.
Public. Any,
So how do we ensure that, just looking at, how to live, well, most of live here. So how do we ensure that our current board would have equal rights to then run again, as opposed to, with all due respect, we don't get very many candidates. So would we then wind up with vacant seats?
Good, possibly.
I mean,
Yeah, no, we absolutely could, like in certain areas, it was brought up, multiple times.
well, to be honest, some of you cancel out each other. Again, I'm not putting anybody's address out there, but some of you guys are gonna cancel out each other by your own jurisdiction.
Yeah, we were.
That's why we're trying to like,
I know you're-
right, I hear what you're saying, like, what do you do? That's why we're having this discussion to draw the maps. So what he's saying is like, what do you consider a neighborhood? Like, in your area, what are the boundaries of your area where you are? Because I know where you live.
Right.
So what do you consider your
Well, I mean,
boundaries?
I'll be honest, I am, I would, that's it.
I just want to interject here that it's very difficult to hear what is being said. Maybe if you got a little bit closer to your microphones. Very difficult to hear the conversation and the comments, and undoubtedly we want to capture all of them.
So one of the big concerns was, basically, one of us would be out, not able to have a full 5 seats, board
Right.
members. Where one district might not be represented because nobody decided to run. Right?
Right.
So
How about you?
is this a question about how the trustee areas eventually function, or?
I don't know how
Let's
it's up
see.
here. So, I don't wanna go with
Just
the
talk
head
right
in front of the
there.
TV.
Just talk right there.
So the question was, like, how do we ensure that our districts will properly be represented? For the fact that, I mean, we're all very much, aside from a couple of us in the room right now, live in the town. So I can honestly say, there's only one person that would represent my entire side of Roseman. Now, chances are, you probably need 2 people from that side of Roseman if we're looking at population and drawing lines and stuff like that. So how does that work if, say, the second seat, nobody was to run for it? Because if you look at our past history with elections, we don't exactly get a lot of candidates. I can't talk any louder than that.
If I can hear you, they should be able to hear you.
Is she frozen?
I think she's comprehending.
So I can take a first answer at it, and then Margaret wants to add in.
But yeah, go ahead, Dr.
But,
Levin.
I know that the fear, nobody will run and nobody will successfully, file paperwork to run, is a very common concern we hear from a lot of districts. And the truth is that it is a reality that some districts have faced where nobody runs. However, once you have that election where nobody runs, the board will fill it as they would fill any vacancy today, except it would only be, the call for applications will go out from that trustee area. And the real hope would be that, if, somebody who may not have thought about running because they had to run district-wide, because they didn't want to compete in an election, might apply to serve as an appointed member of the board, who lives in that trustee area. That representative will have to reside within that trustee area. There's no way around it, but our hope would be that a failed election would lead to somebody who may not otherwise run volunteering to serve.
And if it doesn't?
Yeah, so basically the question was if it doesn't, right? Like now you only have 4 board members, that makes it really tough.
And it's harder to have a quorum. And you have to have a quorum, correct?
Yes.
No, it is difficult to have a quorum when you have a very small board. And what's even more difficult is everything has to pass nearly unanimously. It's hard to make room for opposing points of view when you don't have a full board. The most unfortunate thing about trustee areas and a lack of a full board is certain areas do not have an elected representation. So with that, I want to point out some of the things that Dr. Levin did say, and that is that these lines are for election only. The goal is that the lines are set up on a neighborhood basis that makes it easier for people to run. In other words, the people on the east side of the freeway run in their neighborhood. They don't have to, they put their signs up in their neighborhood. They don't have to go over to the west side that could be quite extensive, neighborhoods they don't know well, and try to get themselves known in order to get a majority to run, a majority to win. So one of the goals of the smaller election areas is to encourage more candidates, because you just running for your neighbors. But a second point is that the trustee areas, while there's neighborhood based, they're not intended to interfere with the functioning of the board or the responsibility of the board for the full district. Yes, when there is a small board, it's difficult to get a quorum, nobody can be absent. And I mean, if your board is 5 and you only have 3 members sitting, everything's got to be unanimous vote. So it can be tough at times. But the hope is that the trustee areas themselves will encourage candidates. If not, then we, at the redistricting time, can reconsider the electoral system. You're not locked in.
With having said that, are they gonna take into account, or have they taken into account past, people who have run, or past elections? So I'm speaking of, in reference to, I mean, if we look at our board, and, I was just looking it up right now, I believe Mr. Vincelette is the only representative over the last, I wanna say 10 years, that has been represented for the east side. I mean, so nobody else has even tried to run. So, I mean, are we taking that into account? I understand that it's the redistricting and we're drawing the lines and stuff like that, but are we looking at historical trends as well? Because at the same time, as the Roseman Schools president for the teachers, we're also putting our children's education and voting like you just stated. If it's not unanimous, we're talking about contracts, we're talking about construction. I mean, you already know all this, but we're talking about a lot of things that are gonna affect our children's education. I'm not trying to be political here, but I really don't care about our Senate and our stuff like that. What we're here for right now is these are for our students. This is for our children. And if we have a vacant seat, or if we're, having to have, multiple meetings to get things approved because our, God forbid something happens to a board member or something like that. I mean, I just don't know if this is being taken into account, especially when we look at the historical trends of Roseman. So I'm just curious if we do that as well.
Let me say how much I appreciate these comments. We did look at historical election patterns. One of the very big concerns with undertaking this process was the characteristics of the area and the transient nature of a number of the populace because of the association with the military and the difficulty of recruiting and maintaining board members. Unfortunately, these were not considerations that were taken into account by the people who sent you a letter alleging that the electoral system violated California law. So what we are trying to do here is to, in an economical way, bring the board into compliance or under the umbrella of the law. I'm not saying there was any violation here, but the alternative to doing the district process is to test that in litigation. And as Dr. Levitt demonstrated, litigation is extremely expensive, even for a very small area. And so while this is going to be a big change for the district, and all of these problems are salient, the other half of that, the other side of that yin and yang, is the cost of defending litigation. And there are people prepared to sue if this is not accomplished.
I have some clarifying questions and maybe a question on top of that. He said in his presentation that the election, that it goes to the public in 2026, but then the trustees are voted in 2026. How does that work when the election is in November? Or did I misunderstand that?
No, you understood completely and fully. In 2026, I can't recall right now, but I believe there will be 2 trustees up for election. So there will be 2 open seats. At the end of this process, the trustees, you will vote on what districts or what trustee areas are up for election in which year. 2 of the trustee areas will be on the ballot in 26.
I guess it's 3.
And those 2 trustee areas will elect a trustee from within the area. That election doesn't affect anybody else. The other 3 trustees remain on the board for their full term. And then the remaining 3 trustee areas that were not on the ballot in 26 will be on the ballot in 28. So by the time you enter the election cycle in 2030, the entire board will have been elected in trustee areas.
Okay, so there will be 3 up for re-election in 26 and 2 in.
Okay, I made a mistake there.
Yeah.
I made a mistake there, but the principle applies. 3 trustee areas will be on the ballot. You will decide which 3. The other 2 trustees remain on the board for their full term.
I understand that, but does the map have to go in front of the people on a vote, or is it done by the trustees?
It's done by them.
It is done by the trustees.
Well, they come up with recommendations based on the.
But I guess where my clarification is the public doesn't, obviously this is the public hearing, but does that map go to the people to be voted on election day? I guess that's my question.
No.
The answer is generally yes. However, there's a special provision in the code that says when you are threatened with litigation, the trustees can enact the map without a vote of the people. So that will be a decision for you to make. You can put this on the ballot. If the voters vote it down, then that leaves the district at risk of litigation. The alternative is for you to take advantage of the statute that permits you to adopt the map without voter approval. And this would protect the district from litigation.
I just want to put that out there, just a second. So it can't go on the election in November, next November, because we're voting next November for 2 new members.
3.
Sorry. So it can't go on, so the public, there's no option. And I'm nothing against the board, but really, there's nothing, they have to pick the jurisdiction, so to speak, or the lines, because 3 of them are running for re-election.
and honestly, so, two of them or even three of them, depending on how they
Could be
draw
the
it
same
up,
area.
could, be running against each other.
So,
If you determine to put this on the ballot, then in November of 26, the three that are up for election will run at large. And you will only use the trustee areas if the voters approve the map.
so, if that happens, are we out of compliance and could possibly be sued?
Yes,
So what you're suggesting is that we enact our right to vote on the maps as a board.
correct.
It makes sense, right.
However, that is a recommendation to avoid litigation. The alternative gives the decision to your voters. However, the risk of that is a very expensive lawsuit.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So what, right, exactly. So our next meeting or our next steps, will we start to see maps that are drawn out?
Absolutely. Dr. Levitt, when will the maps be available?
So according to the timeline we presented, this Friday, November 21st, the maps would be available.
Okay, they will be posted on the district website for comment. Nothing about these maps is set in stone. They are starting points for developing trustee areas around communities. I do have a question for you, Dr. Levitt. There was significant testimony at the last hearing about neighborhoods, natural dividers, location of schools, location of new schools, older housing versus newer housing, transportation corridors, boundaries at 40th and 35th Street, the more Latino areas, etc. Is all of that, will all of that be taken into consideration in the design of maps?
So yes, all of the public testimony that we've received, including all of Dr. Johnson's notes from our last meeting, will be taken into consideration in the preparation of the maps.
All right. So that doesn't need to be repeated here. All of that will carry over.
Yes.
So I have a question then. So everything that's being discussed here at this meeting, you have 2 days to add to the maps that you're going to provide us with on the 21st.
If there's anything more you wish to add to the
To the initial maps.
yeah.
Because after the third public hearing, there'll be an opportunity for revisions and changes or questions about the maps that could lead to modifications or changes.
Maybe I misunderstood questions, but the board and members, individual members of the board, are clearly able to suggest and request and order changes to the maps based on your understanding of the community. These are just starting points.
Yeah, and I wanted to stress that basically the maps that come out later this week will only be those starting points. That if there are modifications needed or changes needed, there will continue to be an opportunity to make changes and revisions to the maps, but even combining or features of two different maps together. And so the process really doesn't end this week with the posting of the maps. It really begins with the posting of the maps.
Anyone else have anything? In that case, we will close the public hearing section and go back to our regular meeting.
Second.
I moved.
Pepper moved, Ray second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you, we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We just did this. Okay. RTA report. Kind of a long,
Well, I'm gonna be honest, all due respect to this game, because we've had good meetings and stuff like that, there's just an issue that keeps coming up that we haven't had the opportunity to discuss. So like, but I know she's gone. I'm just gonna put this and then we'll have a discussion, Ms. Gaines.
Sure.
Because I don't like to put stuff out there, Ms. Gaines is aware, but we've just had a meeting last week. I think the board, just gonna, there's a lot that has to say. If we could maybe look into revising our independent study, short term, something has to be done for our teachers. Like I said, there's a whole thing here, but I'd much rather talk to Ms. Gaines first, and then maybe we could adopt a new policy. I mean, I literally came here to talk about, an incident that happened this week, and then as we're, literally, that's why I said, oh, geez. I just got an email from a teacher saying that they're supposed to provide and this is, we'll go into it, a month's worth of work by tomorrow. She just got the paper today. It's impossible for us to do it.
It's only 15 days.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a month worth of work, right? It's only
Oh,
15
see,
days.
this is- okay.
15 school days.
15 school days.
If you want us to educate the children and to give them solid foundations, and I know the way you're saying it, but that's the way it seems like it's coming across there, not, Mr. Wright, I don't mean that towards you, but just the kind of nonchalant, like, just give them work. We can't do that. We have to, if we're gonna teach bell to bell, and we're gonna be good educators, we've gotta be given the proper time to plan and prep and get the stuff ready for a student that's gonna be gone. I was only coming in here for a question about 3 days. Now I gotta think about all the way till January, they're gonna be out from, I believe, tomorrow. I mean, that's,
So you're saying that a teacher was notified today or yesterday that they need to provide a student who's gonna be out pretty much the next day with work for a month? And this was just dropped on them and they're expected to just,
right. And again, that's why I said, me and Ms. Gates have not gotten into it yet. And that literally email just came through, where, I mean, I don't know how to even answer that.
Mr. Shovlin, may I just interject something for you?
Oh, please.
First of all, the short-term independent study and the attendance recovery of 10 days, that is not something that Southern Kern Unified School District created. Basically, we're following
Yes.
the law, the ed code for that. There is no thing as short-term independent study of more than 15 days. So I'm not sure where that problem sets in.
Well, right.
But what I'm gonna ask you to do, because I will be in
I know, yes.
Orange County, I would like you to direct your questions tomorrow to Dr. Mendez. No?
I prefer if we didn't do that.
Okay, you would prefer to be.
Well, I was told that there's nothing in the, so I was told there's nothing in the ed code that says the teacher has to have planning time.
Has to have what?
Have time to prep it.
Well, a teacher has to have time for 30 days. Who told you that? Okay, you know what? Even though I'm gonna be in Anaheim, could you possibly text me and I will step outside and have that conversation with you? Absolutely. We can't expect our teachers to whip up 30 days and deal with the 30 kids in the classroom with no time to do that. That's ridiculous.
And the short term is only for 15 days or less for the school year, for the entire school.
That's what I was just saying.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, and honestly, I had everything positive, that's why I'm not trying, that's why I wait. And I don't want to do that to the state, so I just want to put that out there, because we just had a meeting last week, but it's just that these past 2 days, I've been bombarded with questions about it, and I haven't got it again.
But I think that's what this is for you to bring things up like that, so we are made aware.
Right, but I don't like to do that to Ms. Gaines, that's why I'm gonna put it out
Yeah,
there.
That's fair, right?
So,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying, let me and Ms. Gaines talk about it first, but it's just, I just want it to be that we might have to then look into some kind of board policy for planning time then. Even though it's a head code, and I get that, but maybe some kind of time that something has to, because if you're gonna be gone for a month.
In a perfect
Yeah.
world, Mr. Shevlin, I hear you. I want you to know that I hear you. In a perfect world,
Yes.
parent or guardian who they would know in advance if they're taking their child out of school, like you would think, especially for 15 days, that they could come to the site administrator and say, is it possible for me to put my child on a short-term independent study, as we will be traveling, or there will be a death, or whatever it is in the family. Next day, within 24 hours, that's unheard of.
Tell them,
Just-
don't freak out, it's gonna be okay.
Oh, no, that's what, and I appreciate that, that's all I needed, thank you. And I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. We all good?
Yes.
Okay. CSDA.
No report tonight.
What? Thank you.
But, enjoy your week off to those that aren't working. Have a good, fun, safe Thanksgiving.
What days are you off next week?
Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
Nice. I'm not even on those.
Work 2 days, get 4 off.
Okay.
Right. Can I get you one?
Yeah.
Relax. She was our referee. Yeah. So, I had this meeting for her because she was the first one. Oh, they do that at Michael's. Sunday. That is cool. Yeah.
We,
This came from Captain Moss Charlie. Was out, they were out there, we took a picture.
Oh, so we're gonna do.
I sent her out so she could meet her mother had to take the baby.
Oh, I see, okay.
This is, I remember she was.
I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead to, I was gonna say our CEO, but he's not here.
CBO?
So we're gonna pass on Robert. Dr. Mendes.
Hi, good evening, everyone joins us in person and also online. We've been having professional development. Dr. Wetzel's been working with Roseman High last week, and then earlier this week, we had professional development for Success for All. It's seniors are for PD and Success for All, reading intervention program there. Elementary, and the focus is K through second grade there. Tomorrow, we'll, myself as well as Dr. Tulliver and teachers from West Park Elementary and also from Roseman Elementary School, Tropico and Roseman High will be at a day 2 math adoption network series at KCSOS. That's where we'll be collaborating, getting more information for our piloting next semester, narrowing down the curricular options, and then providing a recommendation, making a presentation, and then providing a recommendation as we get further in the year for the upcoming new math adoption for 26, 27 school year. So that's something we'll be working on tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. for coming. Right there. Put it back over
Okay, we get to do this for Liam, appropriately Liam, thanks for being here tonight. So I have a little presentation for our very first female referee for Powder Puff. So, according to her aunt, we took her totally out of her comfort zone. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Never saw it. I was her mentor. So, Mrs. Gaines, what I did is that Captain Wallace sent me a picture with us out in the middle. I was her mentor and so forth. And I want to share, look at what she's wearing for boots. This lady could outrun anybody, any of the girls out there with those boots on, and they're heavy. Mrs. Gaines?
I want to present this to you, and thank you so much, Vice President Bidsela. This is a great picture, and I would not want to be a referee out there. I'm sure I would have missed a lot of calls I should be making, but congratulations and thank you. You did have a good mentor. I'm sure you would agree with that. So this is a great souvenir for you. Congratulations. Thank you.
And by the way, I did mess her up during the game. Normally, I gave her a finger whistle because it's easier for her. But she was wearing it on the right hand and she needed to do a lot with the right. I always use mine on the left and I messed up. I should have got her that, but when I realized it, I go, no, I'm not gonna play with this because now I'm gonna really make her more nervous than she was. But you could not tell she was nervous. Not one bit out there. And I'm hoping she comes back and does it again next year. Thank you.
Assistant Superintendent of Special Education and Pupil Personnel who is absent, correct?
This evening.
Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, Leanne Hargis.
Good evening, everyone. I don't have too much this evening, other than just to say that I hope everybody has a restful vacation. Great time with their, family and friends, and just a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see everybody back in December.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Gaines.
I have had a chance this week to spend some time at two of our schools. Yesterday, I was at Tropico Middle School in the Paxton Patterson STEAM Lab with Mrs. Shauna Tenich, who is our phenomenal instructor out there. We had 3 classrooms in and out of that time zone in this class doing presentations. We had a little passport as we visited the many stations with the students and saw their presentation board and listened to them. If we completed what they wanted us to do, we got a sticker. So my passport had 16 spots for stickers. And the time I was there, and I was there the whole time of the class, I was only able to get to 12, but I probably talked a little more than I should to some of the kids. But anyway, phenomenal work. I did not visit one student who was not well prepared, who could not talk at length on the topic. They were talking, one young lady presented on leadership, on stress. I had to go to that one. And she asked me, do you have stress? I was like, oh, do I dare tell? I was like, a little stress. And she gave me my own set of bubbles. And I said, what do these do? And she goes, this is how I deal with my stress. And she was blowing bubbles, and I actually tried it, and I still have it on my desk today. I was showing Ms. Sargis, this is how I'm now dealing with my stress by blowing bubbles. But it was just phenomenal to see, and it makes you so proud when you see the kids who, I can't say enough good things. Every child in there. And one of the classes was a class of students with special needs. I couldn't tell. They all did a phenomenal job. So thank you, Mrs. Tenich, and thank you to all the students and parents who supported them in creating those wonderful boards and stickers, everything they had for each person who participated. We also had 2 guests from Kern County Superintendent of Schools who, the last thing I heard was they were inviting Mrs. Tenich to present in February in Kern County, and I said, oh, I heard that. Because apparently Mrs. Tenich has this little history of maybe not sharing when they ask her to do all these things, but I told her, I said, I heard that. Chances are I'll be heading up to Bakersfield when she presents, because it's wonderful work. I also visited Roseman High Early College campus today. I was with Mr. Vajna, Mr. Adams, Mr. Dane Adams, Dr. Mendez, Dr. Tolliver, Mr. Wexler. We all went, we kind of split up. I ended up with Mr. Dane Adams, and we visited some math. We visited pretty much all the math of anybody who wasn't on prep. We also visited a little bit of science, Spanish. It was really great, a wonderful tour of the campus. I congratulated all of the administrators that I saw today because the campus was so clean. And I honestly can say I did not see one cell phone today. I've been there a few times. I was there not too long ago with Dr. Mindeborough, and we took some people there. Didn't see a cell phone. Now, allegedly, somebody had one and passed it, but I figure 1 out of 920 students, so I'm not gonna worry too much about that. So it was just really, really good to see kids, having conversations with each other and just, during passing period, just doing what kids should be doing, and it was wonderful. So thank you, Roseman High Early College campus, for hosting us today. And I want to just say that next week is our Thanksgiving break, and I want to wish all of our families, our staff members, our students, a wonderful holiday. It is, these times are, as we get closer and closer to the end of the semester, it becomes a little more stressful with grades and giving finals and making sure that we're assessing everybody and doing everything we can to provide intervention. So we're all in need of that, I think, that break. So I wish everyone a wonderful holiday, including my board members here who are here more often than you guys ever could imagine. And so I want to thank them as well. So yeah, thank you.
Board member communication. Let's start with Mr. Wright.
Honestly, just have a good next week. I'll be at work if but that's okay. Hopefully enjoy the time off if you get it. Other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you all for joining us, and those of you watching, which I hope is a lot.
Dan can give us the numbers later.
Yeah, a large
It's
number.
top secret.
There's 3.
He said it's top secret.
4 watching.
Don't worry about that.
I just wanted to say that, as you all know, we do hold expulsion hearings, and I think that we have a teen vaping epidemic. I think it's really a big issue, and I think over the course of the Thanksgiving break, maybe talk to your kids about the dangers of vaping. trying not to fit in with people that just, I don't really know, like, how to say. It's bad. We deal with a lot of it. It's unfortunate. You're hurting yourself if you are knowingly hiding it in places that you know we are not able to search. Eventually, you're hurting yourself in the long run. You know, we may not catch you, but it's eventually going to catch up to you. We need to think about our actions. I just kind of want to put something out there. Aside from that, I hope everyone enjoys their Thanksgiving break. That's it.
Thank you guys for being here. Thanks whoever's watching. I do hope everyone has a good week next week, working, not working. I work every day, man. I'm out there, I was outside, I was pulling up weeds, and I was like, look at the seeds, they're growing. If weeds are gonna grow, seeds are gonna grow. Throw the seeds out there. It's gonna rain, you're gonna grow something. I planted sugar snap peas like a few weeks ago. I was out there eating peas, and okay, I washed them first. But you can grow anything. I want you guys to plant some seeds, okay? You can still grow things right now. It's possible. Cold hardy crops. If weeds are gonna grow, seeds are gonna grow. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay? All right. Thank you guys for being here. I'll leave you alone now.
I've got a great crop of weeds.
I bet. That's right, okay.
All right, thanks. Okay, we started off today. I was hoping that Leah Finch would be here to do some of this, but she is not. She's out enjoying herself playing soccer, which is I commend. I'm a firm believer in students, using them to do things. And so I went to Captain Wallace about 4 years ago and asked him if we could enlist the Cadet Corps to officiate powder puff. He readily agreed. We went and did it. We've been doing it for 4 years. And I said, today we recognized our first young lady to be the referee. And that's a hard job. She can tell you that. So, but I did ask Captain Wallace to give me the whole list. I have Risa Rodriguez. I have Sophia Chavez, Deegan Farmworth, Aiden Gillian. Now, this one I'm gonna slaughter, but it's Nathan Sirabon Com, Xavier Soto, Santiago Esperanza, and Talisha Guyton. They were all volunteers. They had mentors. I had Terry Cook, Dana Furman also came out to help. And I'll tell you, this is the best crop of officials that I've seen. They were more into it and knew the penalties better than some of us actually. So hopefully we'll see them next year. Thank everybody for tuning in and who's here tonight. Next week, happy Thanksgiving and enjoy the week off.
Look at those seeds you planted in her. Look at that. Good job. You're an official. Well done.
Well, what was the incentive when I told you how much the official makes when they do? You remember?
1,500?
No, $148.
Oh, she thought it was 1,500.
Yeah, I know. I wish it was. But this was 140. Yeah, I know. So, but we need officials, and this is another way of, in talking with my association, of trying to get officials into this. And there is interest, so we'll see them hopefully in a couple of years when they graduate. You're on your way, sir.
Just want to thank everybody for being here and everybody who's online. And as far as our redistricting, we've got a letter of lawsuit pending if we did not redistrict. That's why we're going to this system, which I do not like. I think it's bad for the community, but I guess the only way we can keep from being sued is doing this. So just want everybody to know that that's why we're going this route. Again, I am not for it, but it is what it is, and we have to go for it. So, with that, do we have anything from the public?
No.
No comment?
No subcommittee,
Okay, no. Well, I'll give them something. We did get buildings for the AMS delivered the buildings.
I'm not sure if they did.
I did not see them in Tropical this morning, so.
Matter of fact, I don't think I did either.
Okay, so never mind. Consent items A through K will exclude I.
Yes, thank you.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Lett, seconded by Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, approved career technical education grant application for seven cycle, funding cycle. Mr. Tenich.
Thank you, Board, Superintendent Gaines, and distinguished guests. My name is Mike Tenich. I am the new CTE coordinator here for the district. I oversee the 14 pathways at the high school and one pathway at the middle school. One of my roles is to both administer and write grants for the district in terms of CTE funding. So I was asked by Superintendent Gaines to write the Career Technical Education Facilities Program grant for the new CTE facility that we are building at Rosamond High Early College campus. With this, we had to break the grant up into the different industry sectors that are going to be in the new facility. Right, so those include agricultural and natural resources industry sectors, so that's the ag pathways, manufacturing and product development, which is our composite program, public services industry sector, which is our public safety pathway with the Cadet Corps, health sciences and medical technologies, this is biotechnology and patient care services, and then we have one room which is going to be a combination of two different industry sectors because the same instructor teaches both of them. And we had to choose one or the other according to the state. So we went with the arts, media, and entertainment sector, which is our video production pathway. And that was chosen because they checked more of the boxes for the grant than the information technology pathway did. So a couple things about the grant. The narrative had to be under 10 pages, which has been a challenge. It can include, well, it includes the construction costs for all of the new construction for that particular industry sector. So when I'm looking at the agricultural and natural resources industry sector, that's one classroom. There's a barn that goes with it, the furnishings for that particular area, and also any new equipment that we are looking at purchasing for those pathways, okay? Any equipment and furnishings does have to have a lifespan of at least 10 years. So that excludes things like computers. They do that specifically to try to keep school districts from applying for new computers every year and using up this money. So this money comes from Proposition 2 from the California legislature. They have $300 million available for this year, and it's broken up into 3 categories. So there is urban, suburban, and rural schools. So right now they are guaranteeing the top 3 of each one of those categories. And then the money they have left over, they will then go to the 4th position in each one of those categories, and so on until they use up all $300 million. So The important part about that is we are competing with schools our size. We are not competing with LAUSD. All right, we are just competing with other rural schools as we go through this grant process. So 2 of the pieces for this grant require approvals. So the first one we accomplished last week when we met for our first meeting with the new CTE District Advisory Committee as part of Education Code 8070. So we implemented that. We had a good turnout. We're going to continue to grow that, so we have all the pathways represented in that committee. But we went through a much longer version of this presentation last week. But I want to try to get through it fairly quickly today for you so I have time to answer any and all of your questions that you may have concerning these grants. So a good portion of the actual narrative is just the wordsmithing of, what pathways are we doing and why, the number of students that we are serving in each one of those pathways, et cetera. They had a whole list of questions that we had to answer for each one of these 5 grants that we have written up. The important piece for you all is as we get into those final funding numbers. So, of course, after I sent this to Alma, I had people get back to me today with updated numbers. And so I have since updated the numbers in the presentation, but they were not present in the packet that you have. So these are updated numbers for you as of today.
So yes, so that's.
Or sorry, as of this afternoon, actually. So the grant is broken up into 2 pieces. First off is the construction and site preparation. Again, that's for that one little section. So according to the project manager and the architects, we are looking at approximately $1,300 per square foot for the CTE building. Now, the barn section is a little bit different. The barn section is cheaper because it's a prefab, and that's only $125 per square foot, but that is also included in these final numbers for you as well. So the top number that you see on the paper you have in front of you and then up here on the board, I apologize for everybody else, they are a little bit outdated, not by a lot, but a little bit. So the cost of the ag area, so just the construction of that classroom and the barn area, we're looking at roughly about $2.7 million. Sorry, just for that section. The furnishings and the equipment for those 2 pathways is about $260,000. So we combine that up and we get a total amount for the ag and natural resources industry sector. And the grant is a 50-50 matching grant. So we can apply for half of the amount that it costs to build and equip that area, with the district covering the other half, which we already have been approved with the bond issue that passed last November, Measure H.
Mr. Tibbs,
Yes.
may I just ask that, request that as you're going through, would you please give the public and our
Yes.
friends at home the new number?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the top number has not changed. The middle number is at $309,000 now. And so that gives us a total, which I don't have on here, the grand total, but that 50% that we are going to request from the state is at just north of $1.5 million is what we are requesting as part of this grant for the ag and natural resources pathway. Okay, so again, that's construction, site prep, equipment, and furnishings for that pathway. The second one is arts, media, and entertainment. This one is still fluctuating. I have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday with a company that specializes in putting together video studios and control rooms, and they're going to be meeting with myself and one of our advisors for the video production. He's the expert. I am not the expert, so I definitely get help in all of this. So with that, we are looking right now at the total amount up here at the top of, that should not change. Yes, so about $2.4 million for the construction of this space. And the equipment and furnishings is actually a little bit less, at sitting about $650,000 for equipment and furnishings, which gives us a grand total of actually just a little bit less than what you see on the screen here, of about $1.54 million as opposed to the 1.56.
And this is 50% only.
This number in yellow is 50% of the total cost of construction, site prep, equipment, and furnishings for that area. The health sciences and medical technology. So the top number again here is not changing. So we're looking at about $2.2 million for the total construction, with equipments and furnishings, again, less than the number that you see here, at right around $185,000 for that equipment. So that gives us a grand total that we are going to be requesting of about $1.19 million is what we are asking for in the grant. I have two more pathways for you. So manufacturing and product development, again, this is our composite. This is the largest suite in the new building, just because for the industry, there are certain things that you need to have in order to train these students correctly, so that way they can go right out and get jobs in the industry. So it's about double the size. So we're looking at right around $4.8 million. $4.8 to $4.9 million for construction. They have a good portion of their equipment already, because a lot of it was purchased in the last couple of years. So we are looking at a little bit higher than what you see here, right around $214,000 for equipment and furnishing. And then again, if we grand total that and then come down to a 50%, we are right at about $2.5 million that we are going to be requesting from the state for manufacturing and product development. Finally, public services. We have one of our public safety students sitting right here with us. So again, the construction is about $2.2 million. That top number is not changing. The second number is, again, a little bit less than what you're seeing on the screen right here, of $412,000, which gives us a final grand total that we will be asking for, again, the 50% of about $1.31 million, what we're requesting from the state. All right, so again, this is all be requested as part of the grant. The one thing I do want to make, especially our board members, aware of is this middle section right here. So we are requesting this amount for furniture and equipment, but we are not tied to this number. For the grant, we had to put everything in there, and we had to put values. Obviously, numbers are going to go up and down over the next couple of years before we actually build and equip this. But if for some reason we are not successful, because this is a highly competitive grant, if we are not successful, let's say in the public service sector here, we are not tied to this $440,000. We can go in and go, okay, we don't want to take this, but we do want to get this, and we do have the ability to choose. But we're looking at making this truly a regional hub where students and teachers can come in to get professional development in all of these industry sectors. We're looking at the possibility of even having our students performing professional development and trainings for other students from around the area. So teaching them the skills plus gaining the skills for ourselves and our students, because we're trying to find ways to get students the experiences that they need. We do have the issue with getting students to and from like clinical rotations or industry for job shadowing and internships. So as a turnaround to that, we're looking at bringing people to us to do the training with the students right here where they don't need to be the ones to travel. We can bring the professionals to them to try to get them the training that they need to be college and career ready. So that is my presentation, and I open it up to any questions that you have.
Good job, thank you.
I just want to give a shout out, Mr. Tennage, to the Dr. Jennifer Sellett from Allen Valley Community College, who volunteered to chair our committee. She didn't have to do that, and she was very, very excited to do that for Southern Current. So I just want, busy lady, but I really appreciated her taking on that new responsibility.
Yeah, and she's been very open, and that's one thing that we found out about Education Code 8070 with this district advisory committee. It cannot be a district employee who is the chairperson. It has to be somebody from the community, somebody from industry, running the meetings. So I will be doing most of the legwork for these meetings, but they will be giving me the input. I'll be doing all the paperwork, getting everything distributed correctly, because that's my job. But she is the one who is going to be the one who signs everything for us. And I did leave a copy of the packet that she signed off on. She signed off on it yesterday for us. I wanted to, again, be transparent to everybody and show that, not just come in and say, oh yes, we did approve this, but here's the signature from our chairperson saying it was approved per the district advisory committee. And
Mr. Tennage, I want to thank you, because everyone sitting in here and everyone watching, they probably are not aware of what little time we hired Mr. Tennage. I like to say I stole him, but I'll use hire tonight. It's such a better word, from NASA. And he came in and he literally hit the ground running, because this grant, as he mentioned, very highly competitive. We have some areas we've discussed that we think we're very strong. We have a few areas where we're probably going to be a little weak in scoring that number that is demanded. What is it, 100 something?
We have to score, so thank you for that. So just to kind of give you a little timeline, the grant is due December 1st.
Thank you.
They will then be scoring, they being the California Department of Education, will be scoring this on a rubric. And they break it up by sections. So there's a committee or a group of people who will review each one of the sections. And out of 147 points, 105 points will advance you to the next level, which means that we will then have to resubmit another application to OPS, Office of Public Safety. I'm still learning the acronyms in California, I apologize. So it goes to them in June, and then they will evaluate it, and then they will make the recommendations to the state in December of 2026, and at which point in time it's the state government. So when they accept or reject is always, a question mark, but at that point in time, and then we have 12 months we can either, if the facility is done and it's a reimbursement, then great, it happens right away, but we also have 12 months to be able to defer the money if for some reason the construction is delayed or something like that. We do have that ability to delay it for 12 months. The other side to that is anything that we may not be successful in this year. So let's say again, Public services would be one that we didn't get this year. This is one of our stronger ones, I will definitely say that. But if we were not to get this one, we can reapply next year. So new construction is classified as anything that was built after 2006.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tennant. I appreciate everything that you are doing to make this grant a possibility for us.
Okay, I need a motion to accept the application.
Motion?
Second. Right? And then what's left? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. RTA Sunshine Proposal with the Southern Kern Unified School District dated November 5th, 2025 for the 2025 and 2026. Do we need to recess the meeting for a public hearing?
Yes.
Second?
Who moved?
I did.
Hepburn and Wright. All in favor?
Mine is 8:50.
Oh my God.
Does anybody have any questions about the sunshine?
And board, that proposal is on page 80 of your, or excuse me, it's on page 80, yes, that's right, of your packet.
No questions.
No.
Move to go.
You're saying you just agree with everything?
What's that?
This game's not easy.
Ricky.
I said, you're saying you agree with everything?
Ricky.
We're good. No team needed.
Okay.
They agree, Mr. Shevlin, that you'll provide lunch first.
Oh,
I move to go back in
Okay.
the books.
Second.
Hepburn and Salette. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sunshine Proposal dated November 14th, 2025 for the 2025-26 games.
Yes, sir. The hearing that you just opened and closed was RTA's proposal to us. Now on page 81 is Southern Kern's proposal to RTA. And so if you would open that.
I was looking at this.
Who did? Vince, moved by Vince Lett.
Second?
I heard a second over here.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
Okay.
Time is 8:52.
All right. I hear it. We're good.
Bye-bye, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you want to agree with Ms. Gaines' proposal. I'm just saying.
We're actually not agreeing to anything. We're just doing the information. We're not agreeing to anything right now.
Nice try.
Do you have any questions? No?
No questions?
I move to go back into close.
Motion by Hepburn, second by Vince Lett. All in favor?
Aye.
8:52.
Two. Annual organizational meeting is scheduled for December the 17th, 2025. Education Code 35143. Board approved October 16th, 2024.
Yes, you approve this.
Yeah, we
Always say, like, year.
Okay,
Yes.
confused me.
No,
Let's go on here.
That's just information.
just information. Gets me in trouble the other day.
Okay, approve changes in the contract with Medallion Construction for the Tropical Middle School landscaping project, drainage and parking lot update project. Mr. Irving is not here.
I have a little tidbit of information if you would like to hear it. For A, the TMS landscape As you can see, the amount is, 1,958. They believe the, time and material for irrigation exploration for the West Planter. District approved for work to commence on time and material not to exceed $2,000 on August 11th of 2025.
And if anybody had any questions on that, it's actually, we had to run new water lines over to the oleanders along the fence.
Because the,
They could have ate 2,000.
because the architect decided not to include that.
50 million.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have ate 2,000.
I'll make a motion to approve.
$42 under budget, don't say it's good.
I'll second.
Mr. Wright.
Right, and
Pepper.
Pepper. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approve change order with, in construction with Medallion Contracting, Inc. for construction of pre-K, TK classrooms at West Park Elementary School. Alternative scope of project for change order of $14,337.62.
Yes, sir. And this change order has two parts. So the first one is PCO 2, which is for the amount of $10,132. It's a landscape demolition and irrigation modifications previously not approved by SKUSD board on 11/5 of 2025. After subsequent meeting, determined that this cost to be reimbursed by Llewellyn and Moody, who are our architects.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a question. So the additional $4,337.62, where's that coming from?
When I get there.
Oh, well, he was already motioning. so-
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Part two.
Right,
Part
second.
2, thank you, Shepherd, you're right. PCO 4 in the amount of $4,205.15. Additional frame and grate for building foundation. Additional vent and grate added for room 701 to ensure proper airflow underneath the building. This PCO will be coming from Southern Current.
Go ahead, Justin.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Wright, seconded by
100%, but yeah.
Hepburn.
Right and Vincent.
Vincent. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Approve change order in contract with Medallion Construction, or Contracting, Inc., for construction of pre-K, TK classrooms at West Park Elementary School. Project totaling $4,797. Is that a different one?
Looks
It's a
like it.
different one.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is for the water valves,
Yes.
For the what?
to have each building isolated, because Llewellyn and Moody decided to
Right.
not take the recommendations of HPLE.
Well, I don't even need to read it, apparently. You got it down. This was a request, a board primarily from Raleigh Davis, because what happens if there's only one valve and then if it's only like one building and there's only one valve, but there's only problem in one building, all 5 buildings would then have to be shut down. So this enables them to go right to the problem, the source, and shut that particular building down if necessary.
That makes
So,
sense.
yeah, this is $4,797.54.
I move to accept.
Second.
Moved by Hepburn, seconded by Vincent. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Approve change order in contract with American Modular Systems for additional of 5 pre-K, TK classrooms at West Park Elementary School, totaling $7,975.
Okay, this change order is so that AMS will use Saturdays for building installation with the crane, because we did not want the crane dropping buildings when we're in school. Although there might be one person over there that
Drop them over on Tropico.
just joking. So installation, with the crane beginning this upcoming weekend. So 7,975 represents 50% of the cost for the 2 dates. So AMS did lower that by 50% because we told them you cannot crane buildings when we're in session.
That's real.
That's
I
real.
move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hepburn, seconded by Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes. Approve the following list of personnel items. Anybody have any questions?
I'll move to accept.
And we ask you to approve them as written.
Make a motion to approve.
Vince Lett motion. Wright
Okay.
second. All in
Justin,
favor?
aye.
Aye.
I move to adjourn.
Second. Two, whoever. All in favor?
It was me and Brendan.